Good morning, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. I just took some lavender tea, so if I fall asleep during this podcast, forgive me. It's been a wild week already, and it's only Wednesday. Or no, it's Thursday now. Oh my god. This is what happens when you work from like 4 to midnight. The days blend in together, but today is an episode of full disclosure, and one of the main reasons why I want to make this episode is because, for one, I think that mental health needs to be talked about more, because it's just something that I'm passionate about, and I mean, besides that, I also want it to be a conversation piece. I want it to be something that people are secure enough to talk about. Because people need each other. I mean, humans need humans. They need to be listened to. They need to be loved. They need to be understood and have that compassion and all of that. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the stages of burnout for a mental health worker. So I can only speak from my own experience. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and it's just going to be just me, like always. But anyway, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to click the links down in the description below of this YouTube video, podcast episode, all of that jazz. I do have a new merch store, and it's on bonfire.com, so get your merch. I like it. I hope you guys like it. But anyway, so before I start talking about the whole stages of the whole mental health worker, like the burnout, I sound burned out. There's 6 stages to this, and I just want to say that this isn't all mental health workers. If y'all still have a burning, empathetic flame for everybody, oh my god, can I have some? Because it's just, it can be so exhausting, to work in the mental health field. I can only imagine what nurses go through, because they have to see trauma, sickness, death, disease every single day, and that's outwardly, that's something that you see physically, that's something that you see every single day, and it could be a leg wound, a gunshot wound, or head trauma, a disease, or trying to revive somebody, and I can only imagine how traumatized nurses get, seeing that, every day. I can also only imagine how desensitized they can be working in that sort of field as well. I have a few friends that are nurses, and they talk to me about stuff like that, and I'm just like, yo, I would be traumatized too if I saw someone just out of nowhere, just gone. I couldn't deal with it. I really couldn't. But again, I kind of think, because when nurses see trauma and they get numb to that sort of thing, I wonder if sometimes they just see something very gruesome and they're like, oh, okay, well, this again. because that's what mental health people go through. And I know that we're totally different fields. I get it. We treat our different things. We're on different sides of the spectrum, but I just wonder if they have their own sort of burnout as well. But when it comes to a mental health worker, I feel like when you get burned out, it's a slow burn, because you don't realize how exhausted you are until you actually feel it, once it really, really, really hits you. So the first stage, of course, is empathy. So the reason why I named it empathy is because, for one, empathy is really, really hard to come by these days. And I understand why now. I mean, not just through working in the mental health field, but also in my own personal life, like having trust issues with people and all of that other stuff. Like, it is hard to have empathy for people, because people take advantage of that. People take advantage of your good-natured heart. You could be a good person, and you could just give the shirt right off your back to a person. You could help them and take them and give them a ride somewhere, but sometimes you just want to be left alone as well. When it comes to having so much empathy, and you give and give and give and give, it's hard. So when it comes to the mental health aspect of it, I don't think that the guests that we have, I don't think that any of my clients have ever done this on purpose, to where they take advantage of it. So I work at a place that's not a psych ward. It's also not a crisis center. It's what we call a mental health respite. So this place that I work at is basically a place kind of like the middleman between a crisis center and a psych ward. We do get people from many, many different areas in my city, and they could have come from anywhere. We deal with people who have dealt with domestic violence, drug abuse. Some people we get just fresh out of jail, and they just want to have a way to transition easily back into society. We've had a handful of many, many different people. But when people at my job end up taking advantage of that empathy, it's because they've never had it before. It's never been given to them before. So when they take advantage of that empathy, it's more of like they're latching on to you. So when you're at this stage, you're first hired, you want to change the world, you want to help people, you just have a bright outlook on things when it comes to helping people in the mental health area, and you want to do everything you can to help these people, and that is not a bad quality to have. I will say it should be a protected quality. Give it out when it's needed, because some people will take advantage of that. We've had some people that will take advantage of everything. Sometimes just people in general will get greedy and they'll want to have that attention of their favorite worker at the center, or they'll just really want to talk to that person all the time and spend their time with that one worker. And it's all because it's just how do I say this? It's just, they don't really realize it because they've never had it. They've never experienced that level of empathy, that level of compassion. So when it comes to someone who takes advantage of it unknowingly, they're not necessarily greedy. They need that, and that's okay to need that sort of compassion. And people need attention anyways, so they just need that type of compassion, and that's why they come here. They come here because they want to be listened to, they want advice, they want to be helped get back on their feet, they want a home, they want to be able to find a job and everything. And that is something that all of us in the mental health field should be able to give them. Should be able to give them advice, help them find sources in order to find a home and a job and all that stuff. That's what we do. That's what we do at the center. That's what we end up doing. There are people, though, that come to my job and they literally get aggressive because they want to take advantage of certain freedoms that they have. And I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say. We have had to go through drastic measures, let's just say that, in order for them to be either redirected or removed from the facility because of how much they want to take advantage of certain things. A lot of people will take advantage of the hospitality because they do stay a week. They do stay and help. They need help and all of that stuff. And there's rules. They can't just, stay here for longer, or they can't get more food. They can't get more of this and more of that, because we have to help everyone equally, basically. So there's that. And once that empathy, I wouldn't say it goes away, because I feel like if it goes away, then you probably have decided to quit your job. But the next one that I guess kind of layers it on top is routine. So that's the second one. Routine is basically, I've got this down pat. I know what to do with this type of person if they're dealing with suicidal thoughts, or they're depressed, or they're dealing with bipolar. I know what to do now. So if they start getting upset or trying to upset me, I learn how to redirect them in a conversation and de-escalate it from there, which is something that my coworker is so good at doing. I really need to learn how to do that. Because when sometimes we get people who end up torturing themselves mentally by talking about the same problem over and over and over again, so we have to distract them with certain things. Sometimes we'll ask them, like, oh, what's your favorite color? Or what's your favorite thing to do? And stuff like that. Like, do you want to do some art? That's one of my favorite things to do with them, is to create art with them. But, that's another thing. You learn every single step in work. So, you're on top of things. You're also learning and you're rolling with the punches. You're doing everything that you can. And you start dealing with different clients in different ways to accommodate how they're reacting to their life and their world, and it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. But routine is when things start, moving smoothly. Just going smooth. Just a car on an open road, just real nice and smooth. You may hit a little bit of bumps, but it's not a big deal. You know how to redirect, you know how to deal with what's going on with, your client or what have you. The next one is obligation. This is where I feel like the burnout really does start. And I feel like it takes a very long time to get from routine to obligation. And there may even be a gap somewhere in there between those two. But obligation just basically means like, well, I'm obligated wow, I can't speak. I'm obligated to do this. I'm obligated to make coffee because my clients need coffee. I'm obligated to talk to these people. It's more of a chore now to deal with people that are suffering from mental health issues. At this point, I wouldn't say that you've lost the love, but at this point I think you just need a break, or you just need to sit down and recharge a little bit, because though you know what to do, things are getting a little bit more difficult. Things are starting to become more of a task and not a passion. Just like any other job, like any 9-to-5 job, will get like that. You'll just come in, clock in, do your work, help the people that need to be helped, clock out, and it's become this routine of just going back and forth, back and forth. Your heart is in it, but you can't really feel it, I wish there was more that I could really touch on upon that. It just becomes more of a chore in order to get up and make them dinner, make them lunch, make them breakfast, make them coffee. Sometimes, we'll have people that we just made them lunch. They tell us how they like their food, and then the minute you get everything done, you get it how they like it, you sit down and you're there ready to eat your own lunch or eat your own dinner, and then they ask you for something else. They ask you to do this and do that, and you're obligated to get up because of your duty to helping that person first. So it's not an annoyance. It's not something that you're upset about. It's just something that you kind of wish you would have heard them say, like, earlier, so that you could tackle that instead of having it done right after you sit down. This is where I feel like the mental health worker ends up having their strings pulled like a puppet a little bit. They're just basically on autopilot. They know what to do, like I said, like they have the routine down, but they kind of wish they could, take some time and have some time to themselves, have a break, just a small one, time to breathe. The next one is annoyance. I cannot tell you how many times I've been annoyed at work. I don't hate my job. I love my job. But there are just certain things that I wish were either taken care of or things that could change. When a mental health worker gets to this stage, they value that downtime at work. They value their break time. They value that time to have a chat with their coworker, or a smoke break if you smoke. They value that time to themselves because at this point everybody needs them. Everybody needs them. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do my laundry? Hey, can you make me coffee? Hey, can you do this? Can you watch a movie with me? Sure, of course. But in your head, it's you just kind of want to be left alone a little bit. Yeah. This stage is very, 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 very... It's very rickety. Kind of like a rickety bridge. Like, it can fall at any moment, really. You don't want to have an outburst, but you also don't want to be walked all over, because like I said, sometimes they will take advantage of you if you let them, like in a bad way, not in a way where they need you. We've had several people that have tried to test my patience. And I think the one thing that I can actually say I do during this sort of altercation, somebody trying to start an argument with me or trying to get a rise out of me, I usually stay quiet. I have this sort of quiet dominance about me when it comes to someone who tries to get the best of me, because we've had people that have tried to be aggressors. We've had people that have wanted to get me upset or get a coworker upset, and I have to keep a level head, because I have been called every name in the book at this job. I cannot tell you how much patience you really need to have when it comes to not running your mouth at these people. You know me. You know me. Y'all know Rogue Radio does not mind hurting people's feelings. The only time, the only two times, the only two times, you will ever see me pull back is wow, I can't speak. If I need to go to bed. Why am I doing this at 6 in the morning? I also may be getting sick, but it's whatever. What was I saying? Damn. The only two times you will ever see me back off in a conversation where someone's aggressive is if I respect that person and I need to listen, or I'm at work where I know I have the authority to turn away someone if they are extremely aggressive. I know I have the power to set the rules and have that authority, but I'm also not going to get in their face and tell them that they should know that since I work here and I work at this shift, that I am the one that you guys need to listen to. You guys don't have to obey me, but if you don't, guess what? Everything that you've worked on will leave you once you leave the center. That's just how the rules work. If you don't comply, you're going to get kicked out. So, when it comes to someone trying to get a rise out of me at work, I'm real quiet. I am real still, real quiet, and I'll just cross my arms and look at them. I'm like, we can do this one or two ways. You listen, or I can call my boss. That's it. That's it. So that's the annoyance part, because sometimes you get annoyed. Anybody who is that person who listens to somebody else's problems, or anybody who is that person that is always the shoulder for other people to cry on, the person that always gives advice, the person that's always helpful, compassionate, and empathetic, and always there for someone, that reliable person. They get annoyed sometimes, especially when they come back with the same problem over and over and over again, and you feel like you're on this broken record, and you're trying to give them the same advice, but they never take it. That's that stage summed up. The next one is numb. This is where you're not exactly okay. Because when it comes to someone who is a mental health worker, a lot of the time we don't have the capability of leaving things at work, like leaving the emotional stuff that people have kind of dumped on us at the center. We sometimes take it home. And we don't usually, or for me, I usually don't realize this until completely later, like way late. And everything will hit me at once, like a ton of bricks, and I'm just like, oh my god, well damn, this happened, and I could have done this better, and it just, it numbs you, because no matter how hard you try, there's always going to be that person that gives up, that you have worked for, that person who keeps coming back just to take advantage. There's people who are just in a cycle where they keep coming back and they don't know how to help themselves, even though we've given them all of the resources they need in order to help themselves. Mental health is a very, very, very tricky subject. It is a very tricky thing to navigate, because basically, when we get someone who has been diagnosed with mental illness, each time we have someone who is either bipolar, depression, all of that, we have to treat them according to them, not their mental health. Yes, that is a big thing to take into consideration, but I can't necessarily treat someone who was depressed because they had an abusive father like I do with someone who's depressed because they think that everyone hates them, or because they were sexually abused, or they have tried to, get a job or find a home or find someone that they want to marry, and it just hasn't worked out for them. I can't treat one person like the other. You can't group all depressed people into one clump and treat them with the same antidote. You can't treat anybody who's bipolar. You can't clump them all together and treat them with the same antidote. Same thing with domestic violence. People have different experiences, and therefore you have to try to act and work accordingly to them and their experiences and what they've gone through. So listening is a very, very, very important thing to do at my job. Because if I don't listen, that could honestly be it could be a matter of life and death in extreme, cases and extreme issues. So, yeah. So, anybody who is dealing with this, who works in the mental health field, please take some time out for yourself, because I don't want to see anyone go through that, because it's really hard not to get to that point where you're numb, because the empathy that you have has been so burnt out to the point where you don't even realize that you're taking their problems home with you. You don't even realize that you're just raking in all of this stuff that you've experienced at this place or at your job. And at some point, you do get desensitized. And this is where we get the last phase of burnout, which is not caring. Because sometimes for a mental health worker, it's easier to fool yourself and say that you don't really care in order to save your mental health. But that's not a very good thing to do. And it's not the fact that they don't care, it's the fact that they've cared so much, they care too much, and they really need a vacation, or they just really need to manage their mental health in a different way, to where they don't get burnt out to this point. And the image that I have in my mind when it comes to someone who's a mental health worker that has gone through this and has just hit rock bottom to not caring is, I feel like, usually the ones who end up getting arrested for doing cruel things in a psych ward or in a crisis center, where they just, I don't know, they say terrible things, they do terrible things. Like we see many people in nursing homes that treat the elderly cruelly because they're the elderly. At this point, a mental health worker, I don't know, I feel like it's a rare place to be, is not caring for the people that you care for. I haven't gotten to that point, thank God. Right now, I feel like it might be at numb just because of how much I experience on a daily basis and how much mental strength I have to have. I've worked at this job for 4 years, and it is already sometimes very stressful. We get so many different people, and sometimes I don't see them again, and that's good, because that sometimes means that they're actually doing really well, and I'm very proud of them. If I see them again, it just means that they need more help. It just means that they're not ready yet. But anyone who is listening that works in this field, and you're kind of nearing that area of not caring, I'm sure you already know how the brain works and how neurons attach each other when they heal, when the brain heals. I had seen a video of, to me, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's when a person who heals from trauma, mental trauma, the neurons end up connecting again. And neurons in the brain are what send signals to each other in order to communicate to each other, in order for us to understand things around us. So if those neurons do not connect and they do not fire properly, it means that that person has been traumatized. It means that that person has a mental disability or a mental illness. And a lot of that stems from outward experiences. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't think that anybody just is born with a mental illness. I don't believe that anyone has experienced a mental illness without having pre-existing environmental conditions in their family life, in their relationships, in their school life, if they're teenagers. It all stems on who is around you. And yes, generational curses if I'm speaking spiritually. But it all depends on that person. Like I said, I can't treat two different people who are suffering from depression, who has an abusive father, and also thinks that they're not good enough. Like, two people together. I have to treat them accordingly to how they've been treated in their life. But anyone who is listening, who works in the mental health field, please be careful what you say to others. I am still learning how to talk to people. I am a brutally honest person in general. I will say what is on my mind, and that I do admit it. I have admitted it in many episodes. It's because my family never took me seriously whenever I spoke up and expressed myself. So, technically, my mental health, like, the reason for this podcast is to actually help myself, help my mental health. And yeah, I can get pretty unkind and very brutal with my words. And I am still learning how to rein things in, because I've noticed that the way I say things, I actually burn bridges with people, and I don't want to burn bridges with people, because I actually may need them one day, but I don't want anyone in the mental health field to think that they're alone. For one, this is one of the main reasons why I decided to talk about it. And two, what you say actually matters. What you say matters, and the whole video of the neurons connecting from being healed mentally from trauma is proof of that. I wish I could find it and post it on my Instagram or my YouTube. I'll probably have to find it and post it somewhere, because that was just a beautiful depiction of how someone can heal mentally over time. Because you could even extend that to teenagers who experience bullying. Like, there's a reason why we have kids who are violent and want to hurt each other and want to hurt themselves. It's because they've been bullied all the time. They've been hurt by the words that people have said to them, and that's actually the start of how neurons detach. It's how you treat people. So when you don't treat someone with respect and love and respect, you're actually damaging their brain. You're literally, not just mentally, I mean, yes, mentally is a big thing, but mental can also stem into physical. very easily. Like I said, I mean, I didn't even know neurons could detach from each other. I honestly thought that they misfire, of course, but I didn't think that they would disconnect. But the disconnection actually causes chemical imbalances in the brain. That's why. And one of the main reasons is because we don't treat each other with compassion. And I just want to remind everyone who works in the mental health field to treat people with compassion, because you have no idea how much weight your words have on a person. How much your actions weigh on a person. You could literally be damaging someone's brain. That's crazy. It still really baffles me how the brain works. But yeah, this is where I'm at, guys. I'm at the point where I just I really love people. I love them so much that sometimes I let it rip from my mouth and be like, listen, this isn't okay. You need to do this, this, and this. Sometimes my delivery sucks. I just want to remind everybody to love each other, you know? Because it's not okay to literally hurt someone to the point where their brain is damaged. And then we get people who are mentally ill. And I will say personally, one of the main reasons why I decided to make this is because I care about people who work in the mental health field. You guys are fucking champs. I don't know what else to say. You guys go through a lot, so much, and people get overlooked when it comes to someone who works in this field because it's never really talked about. Like, this issue isn't really talked about. It's taboo. My coworker, who I love very much, I call him Work Dad because he's been such a good person to me. I've learned so much from him, but I remember him telling me he had a conversation with someone. He asks, what does what does physical health mean to you? They said, oh, well, that means when you're, super healthy and, you're fit and everything like that. And then he would ask, what does spiritual health mean to you? Oh, you're tied to your faith and you're praying a lot and you're this and you're that. Then he asks, what does mental health mean to you? The person said, oh, that's when you're crazy. And that's just one example of how people see mental health and see how people who are going through mental illness every day doesn't mean that they're crazy. I mean, I've been diagnosed with OCD and depression when I was 19 years old. Doesn't make me crazy. I mean, even my family, I just remember if I ever had an anxiety attack, I'd hear somebody in the background saying, Sarah's freaking out again. Like, that's not supposed to help. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. Quit stigmatizing mental health. I can't understand why some people have this mentality that mentally ill means that they're crazy and they're gonna go shoot people and they're gonna go murder somebody or worse. There's a line that we mental health workers have. We've drawn it in the sand. And for some reason, society and the world outside of the mental health community, the mental health facilities, the psych wards, the crisis centers, everybody who works in that area, people in society just don't understand the difference between someone who is mentally ill and who is criminally insane. When I think of crazy, I think of someone who is literally going out and hurting people by their own volition, by their own hand, by their own judgment, by their own choices. When I think of someone who is mentally ill, I think of someone who has actually come to my center and asked for help. There's the difference. And I will stand by that example to the day I die because I know the difference. I know the difference. And anybody else who doesn't, I really, really suggest that you try to distinguish the difference. Because not all mentally ill people are the same. Mentally ill means they're looking for help. They need help. Or they're stuck and they still want help. They ask for help. Someone who is criminally insane or psychotic or sociopathic, I think that's how you say that, they don't have that connection in their brain that tells them that what they're doing is wrong. Therefore, they don't seek help. They are too far gone. Am I saying that someone who is a murderer isn't redeemable, isn't able to come back from that? Oh, you can. But it's going to be a long and hard-ass road. Because not only have you taken a life, but you also had to live with yourself taking a life. That's a hard burden to carry. I feel like anybody who has a heartbeat is redeemable. But like I said, anybody who's criminally insane usually needs a lot more help than a mental health facility. You need God, bro. You do. I don't know, at this point I'm just rambling now. One of the other reasons why I decided to make this episode is because something happened, and I won't talk about it just because I want to spare the people involved. And I'm not allowed to talk about it. We'll just say something very sad and tragic happened. And if me talking on my podcast can save a life, you better fucking believe I'm gonna try. But yeah. I want people to treat each other with love. I know right now times are really fucking tough. Times are really fucking awful. We have a president who is a dumbass, who keeps inflating things. And we also have somebody who's running for president who might actually be going to jail. So, it's weird. There's some weird ass times right now. It's just weird. But I don't think life right now has... I don't know how everybody is feeling right now individually who listen, but I just want to say, if you're considering hurting yourself, just know that you can literally fucking message me. I don't care if I don't know you. My Instagram is literally open. I don't care. I don't want anyone to feel that hurt, that anguish, that sadness, to where they feel like they're in so deep in their emotions and in their situations that they can't get out. And like I said, you better fucking believe I want to help. So there you go. I mean, I didn't exactly expect to get emotional, but that's me. I'm sorry if it was a little heavy for people, but all of that needed to be said. So, I just challenge anybody who's listening to do something nice to someone, especially someone that you don't know. Because you really don't know how someone's life, is going. Whether it's going downhill or uphill, it doesn't really matter. Just show love. Even if you don't feel like it, sometimes you giving love when you really, really don't want to really helps you too. So, but that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me say stuff. And I will see you in the trenches next time. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Alright. Bye.